Yeah, I think of it in many ways as a sacrifice, as a pagan type of mass sacrifice of the Europeans, of many of the Americans and North Americans
Right.
as a whole, to this Gaia type cult that's been revived from the ancient Babylonian mystery schools. Like, these people are thinking long term, and they've wanted to get rid of Judeo-Christian ethic or systems of thinking for a very long time, and replace it with a restored, as Aldous Huxley and Timothy Leary both describe in their own writings, the need to get rid of Christianity and replace it with a new humanist paganism.
Mhm.
This has been a part of the blueprint now for quite some time, and it is satanic. Ultimately, they have a certain Luciferian agenda driving them. You see that when you just
And if I
look at
if I can just
yeah.
add to that, there's an interesting, or I suppose more than interesting, but there is a parallel we should note with regard to the neo-paganism, in that a lot of the Nazi elements that are operating in Ukraine right now subscribe to a form of neo-paganism. You see, we've all seen the black sun symbol, which
Mm,
comes from Himmler's castle,
yeah,
which has, as you laid out in your testimony to Reiner Fuellmix's committee, it has no meaning to it, but it's been adopted as, um, you know, I guess, a symbol of um, subscribing to this neo paganism that Himmler himself subscribed to. So
mm,
we do see that neo paganism playing out with these horrible factions operating in Ukraine right now.
absolutely. Yeah, people miss that, but yeah, there was a satanic religious component to the inner echelons of Nazism. They tried to maintain a veneer of being Christian, and they had their own Reichs church, like with their own approved version of the Bible, to portray a sort of, like, quasi Christianity. But at the heart of it, the inner sanctum of the elites of Nazism were all members of the Thule Society. They were into this occult, satanic, ritualistic insanity. And yeah, you see all of these symbols, like you just pointed out, the black occult sun, all over the Azov. It's on the Azov flag, the thing that's been receiving U.S. training, Canadian government training money to support their insane war against the impure Russian races. Because this
Mm-hmm.
version, this variant of nationalism in Ukraine, I'm a nationalist, but this is not real nationalism. This is a blood and soil cult, where their version of nationalism is anybody who has impure blood or contamination. The Muscovites, the Jews, everything should be ultimately cleansed from our society geographically in order to create this mythos. This is what animated the Nazi views as well,
Right.
including plant
And
life. Frankly,
if
the
you
Nazis.
if
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, if you look at the Pravi sector or right sector's flag, it's red and black instead of the Ukrainian flag, which is blue and yellow for the
Yeah.
sky and for the wheat fields. You have the red and black, which is supposed to symbolize blood and soil, as you just mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was the same flag that our deputy prime minister here in Canada got in trouble for waving at a recent solidarity march in Toronto with Ukrainians. She
Hmm.
was holding yeah, Organization for Ukrainian Nationalist flags, black and red, and had to take it off her Twitter account after like 12 hours. But yeah, no, exactly. And it's the case, as I mentioned earlier, the Nuremberg trials didn't actually deal with the cause of World War II. There were some people were killed, a few were hung, low level expendables. But many of the forces, including many Nazi forces who carried out the worst atrocities, were never punished. They were simply incorporated into the Anglo-American intelligence operations during the Cold War as a new weapon to fight communism. And so this is what was known as the stay-behinds under Operation Gladio, created out of the offices
Hmm.
of the CIA and NATO, that
Right.
took people like Reiner Gellin, the Hitler's former intelligence chief, and simply brought him back in to be the commander, the controller of West German intelligence, with his entire operation, People like Stefan Bandera were brought into the Galen networks from Ukraine, absolved of all their crimes of killing over 100,000 Poles and Jews during World War II, and instead just became an asset of the CIA, of NATO, to carry out, again, the war against the